All right, so 4.7 is where we're on today. And it's just solving equations with fractions. So really, this really isn't new. It's just combining a couple of concepts that we learned like last week. So solving equations still means that we're trying to get the variable by itself. So on number 1, we want to get rid of the 2/5. So we would subtract 2/5 from both sides of the equation. So 21 is the same thing as, or negative 21 is the same as negative 21 over 1. And then I would probably use the bow tie method to simplify that. So 5 times negative 21 equals negative 105. And then 1 times negative 2, so that would be minus 2. And that's all over 1 times 5 is 5. And so then negative 105 minus 2 equals negative 107. So x equals negative 107 over 5. And that can't be reduced, so we're just going to leave it like that. Okay, number 2. We want to get the c by itself, so we're going to add 4/5 to both sides. So 2/7 plus 4/5 equals c. And again, I would use the bow tie method. So that's 10 plus 28 over 35. So that's 38 over 35. All right, number 3, we have 3/4 x equals 2/3. So that means 3/4 times x equals 2/3. And so we would divide both sides by 3/4. So when you divide by a fraction, you flip the second fraction and multiply. So that's going to be 2/3 times 4/3. And so then 2 times 4 is 8, and 3 times 3 is 9. So x is equal to 8/9. Okay. Number 4. So we want to get y by itself. So I would start by adding 3/5 to both sides. All right. And I would use the bow tie method. So 5 times 1 is 5. 3 times 2 is 6. And 2 times 5 is 7. So I have 2y equals 11 over 7. And then I would divide by 2. 2 is the same thing as 2 over 1. So when dividing fractions, flip the second fraction and multiply. So 11 over 7 multiplied by 1 over 2, and that's 11 over 14.
What did you multiply 2 times 5? Will that be 10?
Oh, yeah, you're right. I see what you're saying. 2 times 5, whoops, is 10. That's 11 over 10. And so that'd end up being 11 over 20 then. All right. All right. So we could just probably continue to solve it this way, but an easier option that we can do is to start the problem by clearing the fraction. So basically figure out the LCD for all the fractions in the equation and then just multiply across the whole equation by the LCD. Once you do that, that's going to get rid of all the fractions, and then you won't have to deal with the fractions any longer. All right, so that definitely makes things a lot easier, I think. So for number 5, so just look at all the fractions in the problem, just the fractions, and figure out what is the LCD for those fractions. So the only fractions in that problem is 1/4 and 1/2. So what's the LCD for 1/4 and 1/2? What's the LCD for 1/4 and 1/2? 4. So we need to figure out what can we multiply by all of this so that all the fractions will cancel out. All right, so multiply each term of the equation times 4. And if you want to call that 4 over 1, you can. But either way, it's the same thing. Okay, so 4 multiplied by 1/4, that's just going to cancel out. So from there, I could just bring down an x plus, and then x times 4 is 4x. So x plus 4x equals, and then -3 times 4 equals -12. And 2 goes into 4 2 times. So 1/2 times 4 is just 2. So this would be plus 2x. All right, and then now all the fractions are gone, so we just solve it like a normal equation. So let's see. So x is the same thing as 1x. So 1x plus 4x equals 5x. And then I'll just bring the rest of that down. So I have 5x equals -12 plus 2x. All right, and so I have x's on both sides, and I want to get x only on one side. So to do that, I'll go ahead and subtract 2x from both sides. So that gives me 3x equals -12, and then I can just divide both sides by 3, and I can get x equals -4. Okay. All right, so number 6, what would be the LCD for that problem? Mm-hmm. 10. Mm-hmm. So multiply every term times 10. So even if it's not a fraction, every term has to get multiplied by 10. So you have to do the same thing all the way across. All right, and 10 is the same thing as 10 over 1. So if you want to write it that way, you can, but really you're just multiplying the numerator by 10. Okay, so 2 goes into 10 5 times. So a half times 10 is just equal to 5. And then 5 goes into 10 2 times. All right, and then 2 times 2 equals 4. And then 1 times 10 is 10. So minus 10 equals, and then 5 goes into 10 2 times, and 1 times 2 is 2. So that just gives you 2x. And then x times 10 is just 10x. All right, so now we're done with all the fractions. So now it's just kind of a normal equation. So 5 minus 10 would equal -5. So I have 4x minus 5 equals, and then 2x plus 10x would equal 12x. So now both sides of the equation are simplified, and I just need to get x's onto one side. So I could do that by subtracting 4x from both sides. So -5 equals 8x. And then divide both sides by 8 to get x by itself. So -5/8 equals x. All right, number 7 says a person's maximum heart rate is estimated to be 220 minus the person's age. If Scott's maximum heart rate is estimated to be 191, how old is Scott? Okay, so it says the maximum heart rate equals 220 minus the person's age. All right, so then it says that his maximum heart rate is 191. So 191 equals 220, and let's just call that A, 220 minus A for age. and we want to solve for A. So next I would subtract 220 from both sides. All right, so 191 minus 220. So if your account had $191 and you spent 220, it would be overdrawn, so negative. And then to figure out how much overdrawn, I'm just going to say 220 minus 191. So that's going to equal 29. So negative 29 equals negative A. And negative A is the same thing as negative 1A. So divide both sides by negative 1. So that gives you 29 equals A. So Scott is 29 years old. All right, and then continuing with that, number 8 says, in order to achieve cardio benefits of exercise, one should maintain a heart rate of 7/10 of their max. If Jenny's target heart rate is 140, how old is Jenny? Okay, so the target heart rate is 7/10 of the maximum heart rate. Okay, all right, let's see. Equals 7/10 multiplied by the max heart rate, which the max heart rate was from up here was 220 minus the age. So the target heart rate equals 7/10 multiplied by 220 minus the age. And then it says the target heart rate is 140. So 140 equals 7/10 times 220 minus age. And we want to solve for A. All right, so there's a couple different ways I guess we could do this. Probably the easiest way is, let's get rid of the fraction. So we could actually just divide by 7/10. That's one way we could do it. So 140 over 1 divided by 7/10. So that's the same thing as 140 over 1 multiplied by 10/7. So how many times can 7 go into 140? Well, 7 can go into 14 2 times. So 7 can go into 140 20 times. And then I just need to multiply 20 times 10, which would be 200. So this would end up as 200 equals 220 minus A. And then we can just subtract 220 from both sides. So 200 minus 220 equals negative 20. So negative 20 equals negative A, which is the same as negative 1A. So divide both sides by negative 1. And that gives you 20 is equal to A. So Jenny is 20 years old. All right. Any questions about any of that? All right, next we're going to move on to chapter 3, which is going to be translating from words into math. Okay, so at the top, I just have a big list of a bunch of different words and how they, how they can be translated into math. It's just a bunch of kind of examples there. One thing to notice is that, for example, number 1 says 9 greater than a number. So that means we're gonna, whenever it says a number, it's an unknown number, so we're gonna use X for that. So you would translate that to be 9 plus X. Okay, so notice that it did not say 9 is greater than a number. So a lot of people mistakenly think that it's like a greater than symbol, but we're not even gonna have anything like that in this section. That would be 9 is greater than, would be like an actual greater than symbol, but if it just says 9 greater than a number, that just means 9 plus X. All right. And then a value decreased by 7, so that would be X minus 7. So most of the time, we can just translate these pretty much directly, like in order of what it says. So we know that of means multiply. So 1/2 of a quantity would be 1/2 times X. And typically we would just write that as 1/2 X. And then triple a number, that would be 3 times X, or in other words, just 3X. Okay, so number 5 says 5 more than, so that would be 5 plus 1/3 of a number. In other words, 1/3 X. Number 6 says 10 times a number increased by 1. So that would be 10X plus 1. Number 7 says 1/4 of the sum of a number and 5. So that's 1/4 multiplied by the entire sum, so we need it in parentheses, of a number, the sum of a number and 5, so that would be X plus 5. And number 8. All right, so this is one where it's a little different. You have to be careful. When it says less than, whenever it says less than, that's going to reverse the order. So like I said, normally it's in the same order that it actually says it. But if it says less than, then it's going to reverse the order. So 4 less than means something minus 4. So 4 less than 7 times the number, which is the 7X. So I think that's pretty much the only time when it's going to be in reverse order of how it's actually written, is when it says less than. All right, so write an equation and solve. Okay, so what number? So that means we were going to write down X. and then added to, so that would be plus 74 gives 265. So gives means equals 265. Okay, so that is the equation. All right, so if it's, sometimes it might just say write an equation. So you have to be able to not only answer the question, but also write down the equation. That's part of your answer. All right, and then solve it. So subtract 74 from both sides. So that would be like 191. So x equals 191. All right, so number 10 says 18 less than so that means it's something minus 18. So less than a number, so that's x. So 18 less than a number is x minus 18. Is, so that's equals 23. So x minus 18 equals 23. So that is the equation. And then to solve it, just add 18 to both sides. So that would give you x equals 41. Okay, number 11 says 3 times a number. So that would be 3x is 1. So is means equals 1. All right, so 3x equals 1 is the equation. And then to solve for x, we're just going to divide both sides by 3. Which will give you x equals 1/3. All right. Number 12 says 4 less than 4 less than, so that's something minus 4. So 4 less than 9 times a number. All right, so 4 less than 9 times a number. So that means 9x minus 4 is, so that's equals, and then 122. So 9x minus 4 equals 122. So that is the equation. And then we will solve that by, first we're going to add 4 to both sides. So we have 9x equals 126. And next we have to divide both sides by 9. So that would be 14. X equals 14. Okay. And number 13, twice a number. So that would be 2x is increased by, so that would be plus 1/3 the same number. So that would be 1/3 x. All right, so the result is, so equals 42. All right, so that's my equation. 2x plus 1/3 x equals 42. Okay, so you could like combine the like terms, but I'd rather just get rid of the fraction by multiplying across everything by 3. So 2 times 3, that would be 6x. And then 1/3 times 3 is 1, so that's 1x. And then 3 times 42 is 126. And then 6x plus 1x equals 7x. So I have 7x equals 126. And then divide both sides by 7. So that would give me x is equal to 18. Okay, here, all right, here we go. So 10 less than, so that's something minus 10. And less than double a number. So double a number is 2x. So when it says 10 less than double a number, that translates to 2x minus 10 is the same as, so in other words, equals 7 times a number. So that would be 7x. So our equation is 2x minus 10 equals 7x. So to solve it, we have to get the x's to one side. So to do that, I would just subtract 2x from both sides. So that gives me negative 10 equals 5x. And then to divide both sides by 5. So that's negative 5, oh wait, sorry, negative 2 equals x. So now we get something a little bit more application-y. All right, number 15 says the Erno shirt outlet store maintains an inventory of 5 times as many shirts in regular men's sizes XL and smaller than it does in plus sizes of 2X and larger. There are 430 shirts in inventory in the store that are regular men's sizes. How many shirts in plus sizes are in inventory? Okay. So we could say that X equals the number of regular size shirts. All right. And then it says that they have 5 times as many regular as they do the plus. So 5 times X, 5X would equal number of plus shirts. And then it says there are 430 shirts in inventory that are regular. So, oh wait, I think I mixed this up. I should have said X is the number of plus shirts and 5X is the number of regular shirts. Oops. Yeah. So that's what they're trying to ask us is how many plus shirts do they have? So that's what our X should be. And then it says they have 5 times as many regular. So 5X is the regular. Okay, so they have 430 regular. So 5X equals 430. So that's our equation we can solve. And then we can just divide both sides by 5. So 86. Oops. Okay. All right, number 16 says a rectangle has a width of 56 centimeters and a perimeter of 232 centimeters. What is the rectangle's length? All right, so I'm going to just go ahead and sketch a little bit of a rectangle. The width is 56. It doesn't matter like which one you call the width or length. Perimeter is 232. So the perimeter will be the sum of all the sides. So you could say it's W plus L plus L, or that's the same thing as saying it's 2L plus 2W. And then it tells us that the perimeter is 232. And we know that the width is 56. We put 56 in place of the width. So 232 equals 2L plus 2 times 56. 2 times 56 would be 112. So 232 equals 2L plus 112. And then let's just subtract 112 from both sides. So 120 equals 2L. And then just divide both sides by 2. So that gives me 60 centimeters is equal to the length. All right, number 17 says the perimeter of an equilateral triangle is 84 inches. Find the length of each side of the triangle. All right, so an equilateral triangle means that all of the sides are the same length. So you can just pick out whatever variable you want to use, like you could use L for length, or you could just use X. However, doesn't matter. So the perimeter is equal to L plus L plus L, or in other words, the perimeter is equal to 3L. And then it tells me that the perimeter is 84. So 84 equals 3L. And then I just need to divide both sides by 3. So that'd be 28 inches. All right. I think I'm going to go ahead and stop there for today, and then we can do the rest on Thursday. We're almost done. All right. So you might want to print out a copy of the test reviews, or like I said, if you want to just come on Thursday and get a copy of it, that would be fine. But for those y'all that are Tuesday people, please plan on taking your test 1 week from today. Yes. No. Hopefully everybody is registered for MyLabs Plus and doing your homework. If not, please talk to me ASAP.